As Americans, we cannot allow this to continue. It is time to liberate our communities from this scourge of drug addiction.
4:22 a.m., Tacoma, Washington. A dense, choking fog smothered the port. Visibility dropped below 10 feet. To anyone passing by, the waterfront seemed dead quiet. But hidden inside that fog, a war was about to ignite. Federal agents from the DEA FBI hostage rescue team and IC had been in position for over 3 hours, pressed flat against freezing asphalt, unmoving. Their objective, Warehouse 7. Inside, the heart of a criminal syndicate was in full motion. Industrial pill presses were hammering non-stop, 300,000 fentanyl tablets a day. But the 18 men inside the Red Harbor crew weren't factory workers. They were combatants. Heavy machine guns were mounted behind sandbag barricades. Armored pickup trucks blocked the loading bay. Defensive positions were set. They knew a strike was coming. At exactly 4:22 a.m., the encrypted command cut through the radios. Execute. The night detonated. Flashbangs erupted, turning fog into blinding white shockwaves. A hydraulic ram slammed into the side entrance. But before agents could breach, the warehouse exploded in gunfire. Automatic rounds ripped through metal walls. The syndicate wasn't backing down. They were engaging. For 14 minutes, the port became a war zone. Bullets shattered against steel containers. A homemade explosive detonated near a DEA SHIELD team, hurling debris through the air. FBI operators flanked the east wall, using a thermal cutter to burn through reinforced defenses. The Red Harbor crew collapsed. 7 were captured. 3 were wounded. But in the chaos, their leader, a man known only as Dula, escaped, slipping into a drainage tunnel beneath the pier and vanishing into the freezing black water. When the smoke settled, agents secured the building. What they discovered was horrifying. 1.22 million fentanyl pills. $4.7 million in cash. And worst of all, 6 Somali children kept inside as human shields. A war zone had existed on American soil. But it didn't begin here. To understand how this happened, you have to go back 36 hours earlier, to a single car crash in Minnesota that set everything in motion. 10:42 p.m., Minneapolis, Minnesota. Interstate 35 was nearly empty. A black SUV traveling over 90 miles per hour lost control and smashed into the center barrier. Sparks sprayed across the highway. Before the first state trooper arrived, the driver, a Somali man in his 30s, kicked open the door and disappeared into the darkness. When troopers forced open the rear hatch, they realized immediately, this wasn't an accident. It was a trigger. And it was only the beginning.
And that has been a persistent problem with the opioid epidemic for years and years. I mean, now there is a whole range of books and movies and TV documentaries on this very topic.
Inside the vehicle were 620,000 fentanyl pills, 4 untraceable handguns, and a laptop sealed with military-grade encryption. But the item that froze every agent in place was found on the back seat. A Federal Access Badge. The name on the ID, Abdul Rahman Ramner. Title, Senior Official, Homeland Infrastructure Security. This wasn't a forged smuggler's ID. It was authentic. The man trusted to approve shipping lanes and secure American infrastructure was the same man whose car contained enough poison to kill 3 million people. 36 hours later, the second domino fell. At 3:18 a.m., police and hazmat units responded to a reported chemical leak at a storage facility. When they rolled up the unit door, they stepped into a nightmare. A fully operational clandestine drug lab. 2 massive barrels labeled supplement powder held 48 pounds of pure fentanyl mix. Nearby were accounting ledgers listing weekly production totals. At the top of the page, one name was written: Dula, Tacoma shipment. Investigators recognized it instantly. Dula was Abdullah Dulanor Ram's twin brother. A ghost. No public record. No official footprint. 2 men with the same face, on opposite sides of the law. One opened the gates of the nation. The other flooded them with poison. What began as a routine highway crash had detonated into a multi-state conspiracy. The Tacoma raid was supposed to end the network. Instead, it opened a door federal agents never expected to walk through. While evidence teams swept Warehouse 7, technicians recovered a crushed, mud-soaked phone near the loading bay. When digital forensics extracted the data, a pattern emerged. 212 outgoing messages all sent to one contact labeled only H12. Cross-referencing tower data revealed the truth. H12 equals Abdul Rahman Ramner, a federal official sitting in a high-rise office in Washington, D.C. The betrayal was absolute. Investigators began pulling every thread tied to Rom. What they uncovered wasn't incompetence. It was architecture. For nearly 3 years, Rom had manipulated the very systems he was sworn to protect. 38 security exemptions issued under his authority, never sent for secondary review. 6 customs teams at Seattle and Duluth ports quietly reassigned. 12 fabricated infrastructure reports used to divert camera coverage from loading bays. His access card scanned at secure docks just hours before fentanyl containers arrived. Financial analysis revealed $4.2 million funneled into shell nonprofits. Those organizations quietly redirected the money back into syndicate operations. Safe houses, weapons, encrypted routers, logistics networks. The U.S. government now faced a historic crisis. A federal official had become the architect of a multi-state fentanyl pipeline, and his twin brother, the warlord, was still free. By 2:14 a.m. Rom knew. The investigation was closing in. If he didn't act, both brothers would fall. After disabling the GPS on his government vehicle, Rom drove through the empty streets of St. Paul and entered an abandoned rail yard district. Under a flickering yellow street lamp, a black pickup waited. Inside, Abdullah Dullinor, armed, dust-covered, fresh from the Tacoma escape tunnel. The moment they locked eyes, the tension was electric. 2 brothers, same blood, different ambitions. What did you do? Rom demanded. They found the children. They found the guns. You turned the port into a war zone. Dula stepped forward. You act like you didn't know. You signed the clearances. You opened the ports. You built this empire. The argument escalated. Dula demanded a safe corridor through the Canadian border. Rom refused. Then came the threat. Dula pulled a small encrypted device from his jacket. If you don't help me, I release everything. The messages. The transfers. Your signatures. You fall before I do. Silence. 2 brothers stood inches apart. What they didn't know. Surveillance teams had been shadowing Rom since midnight. When Rom left the rail yard at 3:02 a.m., pale and shaken, Federal Command made the call. He would become the bait. By sunrise, a joint response strategy was finalized. Operation Twins Fall. Over 480 federal agents mobilized. At 9:14 a.m., Rom walked into his Washington, D.C. office. 6 federal officers were waiting. He didn't resist. He only whispered, "He's not going to stop. You don't know him." 1 brother was in custody. The other, the warlord in the fog, was next. Within 3 hours, Rom gave up everything. 64 addresses, safe houses, broker offices, freight corridors, hidden logistics routes from Tacoma to Montana. The intelligence confirmed the fear. Dula was preparing to move the remaining product out of Washington state within 48 hours. The clock started. The following morning at 5:33 a.m., a surveillance drone detected movement near an isolated rental cabin in dense forest outside Everett, Washington. Thermal imaging confirmed multiple silhouettes. One matched Dula's height and profile. The order was instant. Deploy. Unmarked SUVs rolled down the gravel road. Snipers took positions in the tree line. A loudspeaker cut through the forest. "Abdullah, this is the FBI. Come out with your hands up." Lights snapped on inside the cabin. Then the answer came. Gunfire. Dula chose the same path he always had. Violence first. Agents returned fire in controlled bursts. Windows shattered. Smoke filled the air. The exchange lasted 19 minutes. Then a voice from inside. "Stop. He's hit. He's down." Agents breached. Dula lay on the floor, wounded, alive. Around him, $3.1 million in stacked cash. A duffel bag of unmarked weapons. A half-filled case of fentanyl powder, the last shipment he would ever move. Within 24 hours, coordinated raids hit all 64 locations Rom identified. The final numbers were staggering. 2.4 tons of fentanyl seized. 310 trafficking victims rescued. 31 firearms recovered. $160 million in dirty money frozen. 22 core syndicate members arrested. The Nur twins, once celebrated as symbols of immigrant success, became the central figures in the largest Somali-American criminal infiltration ever uncovered on U.S. soil. As agents transported the brothers to separate detention facilities, one truth settled over the case. America hadn't been attacked by foreign enemies. It had been betrayed from within. This wasn't a failure of technology. Not cameras. Not walls. Not drones. It was a failure of trust. 2 brothers proved that access can be deadlier than force. That a signature can be more powerful than a gun. Systems don't collapse all at once. They erode quietly. One exemption. one ignored warning, one compromised official at a time. Justice doesn't begin with arrests. It begins with awareness. If you believe corrupt officials who betray their country to run drug empires should face the maximum penalty, comment justice below. Stay vigilant.